on 20 News with Frank Powers.
And Joel Foster coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It's Friday.
It's Casual Friday.
Oh, yeah, get off here.
Yes.
You're strangling me.
Let's keep that going.
As I said, it's Friday, September 29th. Let's talk local headlines.
I'll take it. Hispanics were found to be treated differently at traffic stops in Maricopa County, according to a recent study by criminal justice researchers at Arizona State University. The study was conducted as part of the profiling case against former Maricopa Sheriff, who? Oh, that's right, Joe Arpaio, who was accused of encouraging his deputies to racially profile Hispanic residents. It's found that in Maricopa County, Hispanics were more likely to be searched and arrested by deputies during traffic stops. Researchers examined 31,000 traffic stops from July 2015 through June 2016, near the end of Arpaio's 24-year tenure as sheriff. Even though Hispanics were more likely to be searched, the study found that the length of the stop for Hispanics had decreased over the years. Also, although they were still longer than whites. Current Sheriff Paul Penzone is developing plans to confront the problems identified in the report, including providing sheriff's deputies with their supervisors with more training. The first class will introduce such topics as not every Hispanic person is here legally and why not every black person carries a gun? Back to you, Joel.
You don't need to say that. Arizona Representatives Ruben Gallego and Tom Halloran were among two groups of Democrats who introduced legislation on Thursday to prevent the Trump administration officials from using private jets for travel on the taxpayers' dime. Gallego, along with Representatives Ted Lieu, Jamie Raskin, and Pramila Jayapal, introduced the Swamp Flyers Act, while O'Halloran and Kurt Schrader brought forth the Taxpayers Don't Incur Meaningless Expenses, or Taxpayers Dime Act. Get it? The Swamp Flyers Act prohibits executive branch officials from using private jets with taxpayer funds unless they certify that no commercial flights were available. The Taxpayers Dime Act would ensure that senior federal officials can't spend more funds on travel than is necessary. It also directs the Office of Government Ethics to report on ways to improve current rules. The legislation comes after last week's report that Health and Human Services head Tom Price has spent more than $400,000 on private jets since May, despite there being available commercial flights. After public outcry, Price announced yesterday that he would pay back $52,000 of those costs, then today announced his resignation. Price also said that he would stop his charter jet use, well, obviously now, while the agency conducts a general review of his travel practices. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt have also faced criticism for their extensive use of private air travel. A spokesman for HHS told the Washington Post that the use of private jets were justified because, quote, wasting hours in an airport and having the secretary cancel his event is not a good use of taxpayer money. The spokeswoman also revealed that Dr. Price really hates those little bags of pretzels.
I miss peanuts, but everyone's allergic to everything.
Yeah, I know, right? Can't have peanuts anymore.
The University of Phoenix will close some of its brick-and-mortar campuses across the country, according to internal communications obtained by the Phoenix New-Times. The for-profit university will begin to phase out on-campus enrollment and teaching at about 20 locations nationwide, including its location in Tucson. Other locations that will be closed include those in Detroit, El Paso, and Albuquerque. The university said that no current students would be affected, but said that they have stopped accepting new students for many of its campuses. Instead, they will move to largely online classes. They said that they will continue to service students at the closing locations until the students graduate, while these students will be able to switch to online classes if they wish. The reason for the closings are unclear, but it may have to do with declining student enrollment. The University of Phoenix has seen a decline in enrollment since 2010, when the school enrolled about 500,000 students nationwide. In 2016, that number was down about 139,000. Another issue facing the school were various high-profile lawsuits and an investigation by the Federal Trade Commission, along with negative press over the university's recruitment processes. Timetables for the closing also weren't clear, ranging from the next few months to several years because University of Phoenix officials haven't learned how to read or make a calendar. Back to you, Joel.
Again, you don't need to do that. Arizona Senator Jeff Flake is among a group of lawmakers who are trying to find solutions on how to control the rising costs of Arizona wildfires burning through the country and the Forest Service's budget. So far in 2017, $2.35 billion were spent by the agency, according to the Agriculture Department. Flake called for an end to the ongoing underfunding of firefighting efforts that forces the Forest Service to shift funds from other needed areas. Flake co-sponsored legislation along with Senator John McCain in 2014 that would have addressed the issue of what they call fire borrowing. Flake said that another problem is environmental regulations placed on the Forest Service under the National Environmental Policy Act that sometimes blocks forest management. However, Flake said that these regulations aren't as much of a concern in Arizona, a state where the Forest Service is given more leeway because of constant wildfires. But Flake said that forest thinning certainly was a concern in Arizona, as the practice, some people say, helps prevent further forest fires. He claims that, quote, we need to be thinning about 50,000 acres a year, and we're not even close to that. However, Randy Spivak, Public Lands Program Director for the Center for Biological Diversity, said that lawmakers like Flake are unnecessarily avoiding the regulations. Spivak said that what this is really about is logging, claiming that bills in Congress are calling for mass logging programs. The Sierra Club also challenged Flake's comments, stating that actions to prevent forest fires, such as thinning, can sometimes lead to more forest fires. They said that Flake's logging endorsement can end up leading to overgrowth and that, quote, logging its way out of forest fires is not a solution. Just like your daddy used to tell you.
Right by the fireside. Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone is planning to turn former Sheriff Joe Arpaio's infamous tent cities into a dog park for their MASH unit. The MASH, or Maricopa Animal Safe Haven, is a no-kill animal unit that houses evidence animals from abuse and neglect cases. Arpaio actually started the program where the animals visit veteran inmates and provide them with company. The plan is that the tent city will turn into a top-of-the-line kennel for about 100 dogs and an unknown number of cats in the MASH unit. The kennels would be climate-controlled, and the space would allow them more space with detainees. Penzone described the current MASH unit as unhealthy, where animals don't get enough activity. He also questioned why the dogs were outfitted with pink underwear and why the darker dogs were held in a different area, which is where I knew this story was going. Joel, back to you.
Just gonna keep doing that, huh? All right, now in national and international news. Fewer youths are being incarcerated, but the gap between whites and blacks is worsening, according to recent numbers released by the Justice Department. The data shows that from 2015, there was a 54% drop in overall youth incarceration rates since 2001. But it also shows that the disparity between black and white youth incarceration has widened. In 2001, the Sentencing Project released a fact sheet stating that black children were 4 times more likely to be imprisoned. According to the recent data, black youths are now 5 times more likely. Criminal justice reform advocates say the disparity is due to increased policing in areas of color. This increase occurred though blacks are not statistically more likely to commit crimes, according to statistics by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Their study found that white youths are more likely to carry weapons, drink alcohol, and do harder drugs, while black youths are more likely to get into fights, smoke marijuana, and handle drugs on school property. The increased imprisonment rates reflect how our justice system responds to these specific actions. For example, crimes involving marijuana are often punished more harshly than those involving alcohol. Reform advocates say that local police need to look at how decisions are made and where to focus their enforcement practices. While the disparity existed nationwide, some states were able to close the gap, such as Vermont, Hawaii, and West Virginia. In some states, though, such as New Jersey, the problem has gotten worse, with the state widening its gap by 92%. Even so, the state featured the data on tourism pamphlets, calling the race gap the least worst thing about New Jersey.
Oh, I'm from around there, it's true. Former Alabama Supreme Court Justice and Senate nominee Roy Moore failed to reveal tens of thousands in income earned from speaker fees, according to a report by the Daily Beast. Moore told the Senate Ethics Committee in his filings that he did not profit for an article, speech, or appearance. But filings with the Alabama Ethics Commission showed that he made between $50,000 to $150,000 from speaking engagements, according to the commission's findings. Moore's personal assets were also mismatched, as he stated in his Alabama filings that he and his wife had between $150,000 to $250,000 in liabilities owed to a credit union and a savings and loan associations, which include credit cards. However, in his federal filing, Moore said that he had $10,000 in liabilities. It was not clear why these numbers had such large differences, and Moore had not yet commented on the issue. Individuals who submit false information to the Senate Ethics Committee could be subject to a civil penalty of $50,000, disciplinary action by the committee, along with possible criminal prosecution. Moore won a closely watched Republican primary on Tuesday against Luther Strange, who was backed by the president. The race was seen, it sounds like a supervillain, the race was seen as a contest between the Republican establishment, who backed Strange, and conservative outsiders like Steve Bannon, who supported Moore. The former judge is a hero in some consecutive circles after he erected a statue of the Ten Commandments outside of the State House. He was later sued to take the statue down and removed from the court. Moore rejoined the court a few years, but was removed again when he told state judges to ignore federal laws and refuse same-sex marriages in the state. Currently, polls say that Moore holds the advantage in the Senate, which takes place in December. With the financial scandals, ignoring federal laws, and kooky religious stuff, it sounds like he'll fit in just fine in this government. Joel, take it away. Back to...
You don't need to keep saying that. We've talked about this. You don't listen.
We didn't talk about it.
Yes, we did. According to a recent poll by Market Research Group, found that 66% of Republicans would vote for Kid Rock rather than Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow. Let's repeat that. 66% would vote for Kid Rock. This guy. However, the same poll found that overall Stabenow is a healthy lead, with 52% of voters overall saying they would vote for her, while 34% they would vote for Kid Rock. But Stabenow has been using the poll for her fundraising emails, saying that the poll, quote, show that a full 1/3 of Michigan voters are ready to back Kid Rock should he decide to get into the race. Kid Rock, also known as Robert Ritchie, has said that he has not said officially if he'll join the race, but has flirted with running, even starting a Kid Rock for Senate website. However, the site just redirects visitors to his merchandise site, leading some to think that it's just a publicity stunt. He wouldn't do a thing like that. But Kid Rock has been getting political in his live shows, frequently criticizing Stabenow and other Washington politicians. In a show earlier this year, he said that Americans were, quote, sick and tired of BS from politicians. Perhaps the most shocking part of the whole thing is that Kid Rock wouldn't even be near the most sleazy person to enter the Senate. This was 5 on 20 News with Joel Foster
and Frank Powers. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of our social media accounts. For all the latest Creative Tucson news and content, feel free to bother us at info@creativetucson.org. We are taking next week off to plan our fall programming, but don't fret, loyal viewers. Consider this your official invitation to jump on board, because now's a good time to start and help us make the news. We need more Tucsonans like yourselves to join our team of political analysts, writers, anchors, producers, camera, and sound people. That AV squad, get on down. And whatever else you can think of, we'll be meeting this Tuesday right here at Creative Tucson Studio at 1100 South 6th Avenue. That's 1100 South 6th Avenue. Come by and email us. Come by or email us. Email us and come by and just get involved. So thanks for watching. Now up next, what's going on this week in mediocrity?
This week in mediocrity, you know, with all the kneeling and all that kind of stuff, I just got so sick of it. I didn't want to talk about it. It's the only thing we've been hearing about. So I'm going to focus on a character named Baked Alaska. Do you know him?
No.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Oh, man.
Yep,
all
we're
right,
going to talk about Baked Alaska today.
All right, so we're going to be back. After this, we're going to come back to it'll be back to you, Joel.
All right, stick around.